This is the Huey Alert Podcast with Craig and Shelley Huey, bringing you the tools to transform our nation and culture, the intersection of faith and politics.
Hi, it's Craig Huey, the Huey Alert Podcast, and I am so glad you're listening or watching today. Now, if you noticed, I don't have Shelley with me. She'll be back next week, but this week, I wanted to make sure we covered some of the important things that are going on. You know, it's like a tornado has hit Washington, D.C. Heads are actually spinning like you can't believe. It's the media. It's the politicians. It's the bureaucrats. They're going crazy, ballistic. You watch MSNBC. You take a look at the social media. They don't know what's going on. The minute they try to attack one action Trump makes, there's another action, and it's in the past. It is the most crazy situation. They thought they knew how to resist Trump because that's what they did in 2016. But Trump 2.0 is completely different. Trump 2.0 is so different that the fact is they can't keep up with what to say and what to do. And whatever they're doing, it's not working. And so the bureaucrats, that's the deep state. These bureaucrats, that's 2.3 million bureaucrats. And Trump wants to downsize. He needs to take this administrative state and the corruption and the ideologically driven bureaucrats, and he's got to clean house. He's got to sweep the swamp. And that's exactly what he's doing. And on day one, it began. And it's been intense. It's been a surprise. And I'll tell you a little bit about that. You know, basically, there's the anticipation that with telling these bureaucrats, hey, listen, we're going to give you a cushy resignation period, and in that you'd be able to have maybe 10% of them say yes, hopefully more. That just 10% would be a $24 billion savings, and nobody would know that they were even gone. I mean, these people don't even come in the office. Most of them, 90% of all the bureaucrats in the ideologically driven bureaucracy are Democrats. And their whole idea was we're going to resist. Well, they can't resist because Trump and his team prepared for this. And it's absolutely amazing. You know, you take a look at these bureaucrats and what a cushy job. The benefits are outrageous. The lowest paid about $75,000, but most are getting $100,000 or $300,000. The average is $107,000 compared to $76,000 for the average American. And their resistance is for their own self-preservation, but also to try to destroy anything Trump does. But they're finding it's not working. And they're going to do everything they can in the coming days to scare people, to threaten key actions that the federal government has to do. You're going to see a lot of resistance coming up. So in this drama, I think one of the most perfect ways of looking at it is what happened with USAID. That was one of the agencies back in 2016 that absolutely destroyed the Trump administration. It was the resistance then doing everything they could to sabotage and undermine what Trump was doing. 96% of them donated to the Democrats. And they're driven by a political ideology to transform government and culture. And therefore, the Democratic Party as their platform, their ideology is what's driving them. Government is their God. Their ideology is their religion. And politics is the means to an end. And anything goes, whether it's lying, whether it's manipulation, whether it's distortion of reality, whatever it takes, the end justifies the means to these ideologically driven people. So with this, with the USAID, before they knew it, when they're sitting there planning what they're going to do, how they're going to hide all the corruption, how they're going to hide millions and millions of going for DEI and horrible programs that are giving money to non-government operations, NGOs, that organizations that are basically there to do a political transformation. All of a sudden, they find that everything is frozen. Their accounts are frozen. There was a copy of their hard drives. Their computers were locked. They had security coming in, and anybody who tried to stop them, they were going to be suspended, fired, or arrested. It was amazing. And all it was a slush fund for these non-profit organizations and for these political programs that simply were ideologically driven. And you ever wonder why all these organizations have so much money? Where they were looking at the billions of dollars spent going to the Catholic organizations and different groups that are working with illegal immigrants. Well, it's funded by dozens of different types of government agencies. It's simply wrong, and it's being stopped. Trump has destroyed DEI. It's a battle that is so intense on the corporate level and on the college level. But the Supreme Court ruling that we had talked about in the past, that said DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, that basically was killed on the college level and applied to other things in the private sector by the U.S. Supreme Court. Yet it continued on and continued on. Well, Trump's having no part of that. And his executive orders, one after another, trying to destroy and crush anything DEI. And he's basically taken private businesses on notice. It's an epic war going on within the politics, the economy, with business, and with the culture. So it's absolutely incredible. We see violent criminals being deported. We see Elon Musk coming into the Treasury Department. And what's he doing? He's exposing and understanding. He's taken from his 7 companies the top brains to be able to figure out where all these payments are going, well, all these payments that are hidden, all these payments people don't know about, and identifying billions of dollars of fraud and waste and corruption. Doge basically is saving $2 to $3 billion every single day. And what we're talking about, remember, we have a $1.8 trillion deficit. We got $37 trillion in national debt. Almost a $1 trillion is going just to pay interest to bankers and investors, not for necessary services. So the left is going ballistic. And who's their number one enemy? You would think it's Trump. He's certainly number 2. Their number one enemy, Elon Musk. Unbelievable. They're trying to demonize him, just like they're trying to demonize Trump. They're trying to destroy him, just like they tried to destroy Trump. They're doing everything they can, and yet the man is focused and just doing an incredible job of something that is historic, that's never happened before in the past. The calls now are one lawyer after another taking everything they can to court. And so that is one of the big problems. The first problem we have right now, the executive orders are great, but the next president could unwind any executive order. It has to be legislation to back that up. So that's going to be a major thing in Congress. And then number 2 is the whole issue of this lawfare that's going to go on, simply to stop and slow down what Trump has done. And then number 3, is the election of 2026 to try to impeach Trump and try to reverse what he's doing. And that's where that election is going to be so important. So what we have going on right now is such an epic, incredibly historic transformation of government for the better. It's something that one of my heroes, Ronald Reagan, tried to do, but he found out he couldn't do. It's one of the things where, President Bush had number one and President Bush number two, they had no way of being able to do this. No Democrat could do this. You know what? It took an outsider who understood the evil of the deep state, of the administrative state, and that is exactly, folks, what's happening. So I'm seeing back people I know that are within the administration right now, they're just like, what's going on? They hardly know. They only know what's going on that they're doing. And their minds are spinning too. It's nonstop action. It is historic. Never happened before in American history. Should have happened before in American history. And you can rejoice in that. You can rejoice with what's going to take place. So what's next? Well, there's a few things. Well, first of all, you've got diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI. And that's next battle is going to be with ESG. What's ESG? That is environmental, social, and governance. That has plagued the banking and investment community. That was a lie and a fraudulent thing being forced on by bankers, by investment banks, by investment companies, by mutual funds, and now that is starting to crumble. It was all trying to promote the social engineering. It was all trying to promote big government programs and radical green ideology, and that will be the next battle. And of course, the economy. Basically, what we're seeing is that with the deregulation that's going on, you're going to start seeing an economic turnaround coming up pretty fast. And that's just the beginning, folks. We're going to see an economic boom like you haven't ever dreamed of. Much bigger than what Trump did in 2016. It's going to be on the scale of what Ronald Reagan was able to produce, but I'm saying because of what he's doing with downsizing the bureaucracy, it's going to be even greater. We're seeing a radical shift in the protection of Christian rights, in the protection of individual freedom. And, we saw pro-life grandmothers locked up for praying, released and freed. It is just an unbelievable type of thing that's going on. So this is a time to be in prayer. This is a time to support through letters and notes and calls to your congressmen and senators supporting different legislation that's going on and what Trump is doing. And this is a time to be able to really rejoice. So listen, I just wanted to give you that update. I wanted to express to you what I'm seeing and what my heart says as far as the observation of this historic time you're living in, the historic time for you, your kids, and your grandkids. So with that, if you're confused about DEI and ESG and you're curious about it, get my book, The Great Deception. And in that book, I cover a whole chapter on that so you know exactly what it's about. And if you're not sure about this administrative state, about the deep state, my book, The Deep State, will clarify everything so you understand how it started, what it is, and why it has to disappear. And then finally, I just got a report from the podcast industry, and our podcast, whether you're listening or watching, is in the top 10% for people who download it. And sometimes some of these are in the top 1%. And how come we have a few in the top 1%? It's because people like you take this and they send it off on their email list. They take the podcast, send it on their text list. They post it. They put it on X and tell people to come to it. I sure hope you'll do that too. Let's get this podcast out and be able to get our followers up. If you're not following us now, follow us. If you're not subscribing now, it's free. Go ahead, do so. And with that, next week we're going to have a great guest. I'll have Shelley back, and we'll talk to you later.
Thanks for joining us this week. We are listener supported, so please consider partnering with us by donating at craighuey.com or by signing up for our free newsletter. We look forward to being with you next week. And don't forget to share this podcast with others.
Hi, it's Craig Huey. And you know what's exciting today is that in Washington, D.C., we're finally seeing the dismantling of the deep state. Never before have so many ideologically driven bureaucrats been fired. And what is happening is going to be transformational. You see, these ideological bureaucrats are the ones who are embedded within the federal government, the massive government complex that is basically destroying our freedoms, involved in censorship, against religious liberty, the ones that are helping hurt our economy. Because what these ideological bureaucrats want to do is they want to transform our culture and our politics through the government. And now, with the disruption of Trump and the cabinet picks, that is being dismantled. So what is the deep state? And when you hear about this, what is it? Well, that's why I wrote this book called The Deep State, 15 Surprising Dangers You Should Know. In this book, I talk about what the deep state is. I explain how it began. I talk about what they did in the last 5-6 years. In this book, I talk about Obama's secret army, the group of bureaucrats that Obama implanted to be able to subvert Trump from ever being able to hire people he wanted, and why their plot did not work. And you're going to read about so many different things to get an idea, even of media collusion with the deep state. Want to know what the deep state is? This is the best way to learn and find out. So take a look on your screen how to order this book. I'd be glad to sign it for you. And if you use that QR code, or if you use the text to be able to buy it. If you buy it on Amazon, you'll get it maybe a day or two sooner, and I won't be able to sign it, but you can get it also on Amazon. You can get an audio version of the book as well. And so be sure to get my book, The Deep State, 15 Surprising Dangers You Should Know. Thank you.